Let me get to Aaron Willard here real quick. Aaron, sorry about that. We lost you just as I was getting ready to take you live on the air. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving us a little bit of time today. I appreciate that. One reason I wanted to have you guys on is I played a couple of the ads that Missouri Rising has put together against Claire McCaskill. I guess first of all, tell me a little bit about the group and where this whole effort came from.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Missouri Rising we're an outside effort. We're a political action committee, and very simply, our focus is to really educate Missouri voters, and with the end result of retiring Claire McCaskill here, so she doesn't get another 6-year term.
Yeah, that very true. And I last week it was in fact one of your emails that drew my attention to the fact that she's online tweeting about how dare Donald Trump come here and raise thousands of dollars for Josh Hawley, and she turns right around and she's going to L.A., where some of the biggest names in Hollywood are going to dump thousands of dollars into her coffers.
Yeah, which is just completely ironic, isn't it, Mark? I mean, the places that she's going to raise money are almost at a complete odds, with people here in Missouri that have Missouri values, and she often claims that she's just from Houston, Missouri, and I can guarantee you that Hollywood is a far cry from the people of Houston, Missouri. So I think that is pretty funny. But those, the places she's going are raising money from some of the largest Democrat bundlers, people that bankrolled the presidential campaigns of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, who lost the state by, I think, 10% respectively and 19% this last election cycle. So, I mean, it's just, it's completely off base when she goes after that. But it makes sense, Mark, because, I mean, she is, one of them. I mean, she lives a lavish lifestyle. She's got a $2.7 million apartment in Washington, D.C. She's a co-owner of a restaurant. I mean, if you're not ingrained in the area, I mean, there's some evidence there. I mean, she's even an investor in a restaurant there in Washington, D.C. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's off base, and that's what we're trying to do with Missouri Rising, is just go out there and make sure that Missouri voters, don't forget, who Claire McCaskill really is.
Yeah, and make sure they understand what all is going on. I mean, I know her husband's, her family has quite a bit of money. I know her husband has significant holdings as well. So I don't know anything about the restaurant in D.C., but I do know that Washington, D.C. endorsed Claire McCaskill. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was kind of funny to see last week on social media. I think, we were obviously watching that. That was something that we put out there. And I don't know if your viewers, they're smart people. And one of the lines of attack that came up was Claire was talking about granting statehood to Washington, D.C. Now, I was listening to your show, and you guys had pointed out some of their things that Claire has said, and one of them was, a student at the University of Missouri asked her about statehood for Puerto Rico, and her response was basically that she would prioritize statehood for Washington, D.C. because they have no representation. Now, your viewers, like I said, are smart, so they probably recall, as probably some of these college students did, the 23rd Amendment, which actually completely contradicts what Claire stood there and told them, and that Washington, D.C. does actually have representation. They do have 3 electoral votes to cast for the president and the vice president. So that's just more of the shenanigans that Claire tries to interject. It's been kind of fun, honestly, to listen to her go out there, because it seems like every time she opens her mouth, she kind of leaves herself open for contradiction.
Yeah, I knew that Puerto Rico for the longest time has wanted statehood. I guess I wasn't even aware that was even still a movement in the District of Columbia, which was created so that no one state could claim the nation's capital over any other, correct?
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it, Mark.
That's kind of why it was put together. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it might be a little bit of a conflict of interest, don't you think? If all the taxpayer dollars, from all over the country reside there in the one location, I think that a lot of the people there would probably have a little bit of a vested interest. Yeah,
so we're talking to Aaron Willard from Missouri Rising. If you listen to the mainstream news outlets, they're going to convince you there's some sort of a blue wave coming across America. Separate from that, and I don't know if there's any truth to that in the House, Claire McCaskill is the Senate seat that's probably the most of a toss-up for the Democrats this year. The most at risk is probably the way I should put it. And part of the problem is It's just she wouldn't have won 6 years ago if it wasn't for a pretty major misstep by her opponent. There's really no good reason why we should not have a Republican in that seat come November.
No, that's exactly right. And I know that, for me, Mark, that is something that is still fresh in my mind. I mean, and I would also remind you that Claire McCaskill even admitted, remember, she wrote this book to go out and make money on the side after that election, and she bragged about the fact that she, Claire McCaskill, who says that she's this independent-minded person from Missouri, she went out there and helped bankroll a $1.7 million effort in the Republican primary,
right,
to manipulate Republican voters. And I think that's essentially what she even says in the book. It was to manipulate the Republican primary. And that, I just think, again, is just another example of kind of hypocrisy out there, which is, why our effort with Missouri Rising is so important, I think, in our mind, to go out there and remind voters of that, to get out there and educate them, because she's going to be very active in this election year.
Yeah.
But, a lot of times, just like I was talking to the representative from Houston, Missouri, actually her hometown, which she claims last week, and he was talking, it's interesting to read the press releases because we never see her. We never see her until it's an election year. And then she comes out and she, likes to point out that she's from here. But, her values, that she carries now are a far cry from where she grew up.